Today I'm going to show you how to install a metal furring ceiling, or better known in the trade as MF. Tools we actually need to install an MF ceiling: a pair of tin snips for cutting the metal, a standing knife for cutting our plasterboards to screw fix to our MF ceiling, a chalk line to mark out our lines on the ceiling and round the perimeter of the wall, a tape measure so we can get our measurements correct, a cordless screw gun for fixing the plasterboards to the MF ceiling. If you haven't got a cordless screw gun, which is purpose made for drywall, then you could use an ordinary cordless drill. We have a spirit level. This will also help us get a level line around our room, or it's an alternative method. You can hire, or if you wish to, you could purchase a laser level, and this will give us a level line around the perimeter of our room. And most importantly, the pencil. So there's the tools that you would need to install an MF ceiling. We can now look at the components that go together to make an MF ceiling. We have the J-track, or the perimeter edge channel. This will go all the way around the perimeter of the room. This is the primary channel. This actually carries the weight of the plasterboards on the MF ceiling. The ceiling channel, better known in the trade as top hat. This is what the plasterboards are screw fixed to. Metal angle, we fix this to the primary channels and to our soffit. And finally, the ceiling clip. This will actually fasten the ceiling channel to the primary channel and is used in a single boarded system. High thread screw, used for fixing the edge channel into timber backgrounds or the metal angle into timber joists. Remember, we actually need 25mm minimum into the timber. This is a 12mm self-drilling wafer head screw. We need self-drilling because some of the metal components that we will be using are thicker. A 12mm self-drilling pan head screw used for fixing the top hat to the primary channel. 25mm self-tapping screw used for fixing the plasterboards to the top hat or ceiling channel. Nailable plugs. These can be used for fixing the edge channel to timber or breeze block walls. They cannot be used on the soffits when fixing the metal angle. For this we have a special fixing because it is fire rated. We shouldn't use this fixing into concrete soffits when fixing the metal angle. The reason being is, in case of fire, the plastic plug will melt and there is a chance that the ceiling will fall. The first thing we need to do is get a level line around the perimeter of our room. One of the methods is to measure down from our existing ceiling, soffit, and place a mark. If you do that on either end of the wall, we can then snap a chalk line between those two marks. There is no maximum, but the minimum depth you can go to is 100mm. Another method is to use a spirit level. This method is not quite as accurate, and great care should be taken. The most accurate method to get a level line around the perimeter of the room is obviously the laser level. This will then give us a level line all the way around the perimeter of our room. Once you have the light shining around the room, you can mark the line in each corner. Using those marks, snap a chalk line all the way around the perimeter of the room. What we can now do is cut our edge channel J-track to the lengths required. Well, that's my first piece cut and ready to install. MF ceilings can actually be installed by yourself, but they are best if you work in pairs. The largest edge actually faces into the room, so it faces down into the room. Behind here is a metal stud partition, so I'm just going to use a 25mm self-tapper into my metal studs behind. My studs are at 600 centres, so that makes it very easy to get my screw centres. In the corner, we leave a 3 to a maximum 5mm gap. That allows our next piece to actually slide into place. It also, if you are working on your own, acts as a support, and I can concentrate on fixing my opposite end. Now we've installed our edge channel all the way around the perimeter of our room, we need to set out for our primary channels and our metal angle which will support the primary channels. The primary channel will go at 6, 9 or 1200 centres. This is dependent on the weight of the plasterboards, not how many layers. If you're unsure, contact our inquiry line. Tell them what type of plasterboard you're using, how many layers of plasterboard you're applying, and they will guide you to the correct centres for your primary channels. The metal angle will always go at 1200 along the primary channel. For this installation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 1200 centres for my primary channels. So from my wall, I will mark my first 1200 centre. Again, I'll mark my second 1200 centre. I'll now do this on the opposite wall and snap a chalk line between the two marks. I'm now going to set out at right angles to those lines for my metal angle. Where these lines cross, which you'll see in a moment, is where my metal angle needs to be suspended from the soffit. Top tip to prepare your metal angle. What you need to get an approximate correct length is offer it up to the soffit and just below your edge channel. That will give you an approximate length, because we are going to shorten this by folding the ends in together. Approximately half the length of the cut of a pair of tin snips, fold one edge in, fold the other edge in. Okay, once we've got that, we now need to drill a hole through those two pieces of metal so that this will suspend from our ceiling. To do that, there are a couple of methods. Pre-drill it using a drill bit. You could, because I'm going into a timber soffit, I'm going into a timber joist, I can use a high thread screw and go through. Now this is quite tricky. Make sure you are wearing your gloves. Once it's through, put the drill in reverse and pull the screw out. An alternative, you may find it easier to start it using a self-drilling wafer head screw. Reverse, and then we can put in our suitable fixing for fixing into the soffit. So, where our lines cross, as we can see here, is where we need our metal angle. We now continue to fix all our metal angle where our lines cross. We can now cut and prepare our primary channel. Generally speaking, the primary channels go the longest length of the room. Again, the primary channel should be 3 to a maximum 5 millimeters shorter than the width of the room. This will allow it to fit into place first time. And twist. So that is how the primary channel sits against our metal angle. We drill through the metal angle into the primary channel using 2 self-drilling wafer head screws. And this is repeated on all the metal angles. We now need to cut our sealing channels to the correct length. Again, they need to be 3 to a maximum of 5 millimeters shorter than the room width. And these will fit at right angles to our primary channels. They go at 400 centres for 2.4 metre plasterboards and 450 for 1800 length plasterboards, 2.7 length plasterboards. Depending what length of plasterboard you are using, your sealing channels will go at 400 centres or maximum 450 centres. Our sealing channel is now ready to put into position. We now need to fix our sealing channels to our primary channel, and we can do that using a connecting clip. The clips must go alternate. So to demonstrate, my connecting clip sits underneath our sealing channel. Using your thumbs, press firmly onto the primary channel. They must go in alternate directions. So the second clip, in this case, will go in the opposite direction. I'm sure you've heard the ceiling tiles in an office. As you force the door open, you can hear them lift. The same thing would happen with your MF ceiling. So they go in opposite direction and they work against each other. As soon as you go to 2 plasterboards on the ceiling, whether it be 2 standard wall boards or 2 DB boards, you must screw fix the sealing channel to the primary channel. We can do that by using a 12mm self-drilling pan head screw. An MF sealing system is very strong. Don't try this at home. Now our ceiling's in position, you could include insulation in the cavity. We're now going to install a plasterboard. The plasterboard is now held in position just with those few screws. But what I now need to do is secure it in place. We actually screw fix onto ceilings every 230 millimeters. Around the perimeter, we screw fix every 150 millimeters. Obviously here we need an offcut of plasterboard, okay, to fill this gap. When we start boarding again, we would actually stagger the joint. So we would start with a full board from this wall going into the opposite direction. That staggers the cross joints. Compared to timber, a metal furring ceiling is quick and easy to install. It will meet the fire and acoustic regulations, acoustics especially in separating floors in flats. Happy building.